Good morning. How are you today? Nice to see you back. I love this. I love it. I'm really enjoying myself every day. In every way, I'm getting better and better. And that's thanks to you and thanks to me and thanks to everything that's going on. Every single day of your life is there to be lived, to be filled up with something rather than nothing. So this is something rather than nothing. Okay. So basically, this is me and you, one-on-one, brother, just trying to get to the root of all of these issues that we've got here. And I really, really, really hope you enjoy the time we spend together. It's beautiful. It's a wonderful thing. Now, personally, I am very much involved with clients all of the time who struggle with weight. Okay. Weight gain is a massive thing for most people. It's super big. Just checking the camera. Yes, beautiful. Now, what happens is most people overindulge, or they are unaware, or they don't care less until it gets to a point where they start to feel a little bit self-conscious about what it is they've done to themselves. Their clothes don't fit. They're tired of, feeling out of shape, whatever the motivation could be, post-baby, whatever the situation is. Most people, and the advice, remember, that I can provide on this basis with everybody is directed towards people who have no specific pathologies or illnesses, conditions or injuries that might be affected by general advice. But basically, we always have to make sure that you get the right advice. Otherwise, it's called neglect. And basically, all of my advice that I give to people is based on logic and common sense. There has to be some science in there as well. Most of it has to be science. And remember, anybody in this game, fitness game, who makes extraordinary results or claims they can do things which seem unlikely or too good to be true, you can bet your bottom dollar that they are, okay? So what we're looking for here is a practical realization and coming to terms with things. My main role as a trainer is not only to bestow and to share onto you the experience that I've had and the knowledge that I have, the context that I've had that in, and what works best for most people within certain parameters. It's also to be able to modify that and change it so you can get the best out of it and not spend your time just taking wild stabs in the dark or going on some wild fishing trip hoping that you'll strike out. Well, we can eliminate some of that, okay? Because I will always put the onus back onto the client. Now, I'm accountable. I like being accountable. I love difficult clients because they make you work. Somebody just rolled up to a session, they go, yes, 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 to everything you said. I could just be sewing them or throwing them a whole bunch of one-liners just to keep them happy, okay? And they might be pleased enough with just doing something rather than nothing. Well, that's really not going to work in the long term. So my job as a trainer is to make sure you get the best advice and the most expedient advice. Moreover, the specific and applies directly to you. And remember what we talked about with trainers, you must ask them questions. What is this specific for? Why is this specific for me? How is this going to help over other things I could be doing? And also something else you really want to think about is ask them what their training philosophy is, what their motivation is, what they do when they train themselves, because that's a really big reveal for some people. I mean, I've seen some people stand there and talk the talk and dole out all these exercises that are quite fancy. Then you watch them do their own workouts and you think, fucking hell, man, you're having a laugh? Don't you feel guilty? You know, you're just selling all this shit, but you don't do it for yourself. Ask what their philosophy is. Make sure that they live by it and that they're a walking manifestation of what happens. That way, you know that if you follow on the same path as them, doesn't mean cause and correlation that you're going to get the same results, but there's a higher likelihood that you will if you persevere, if you do as you're told and follow. Now, it's always that thing, take the horse to water. And the first thing you have to remember when it comes down to weight loss is get real. Now, the other day I had a client brand new. He's 30% fat, and they had an issue, and he's saying to me, I think he's 30 years old as well. Now, 30% for a 30-year-old is quite high. We had a DEXA scan. The DEXA scan is a body composition scan, which shows us how much muscle, how much bone, how much fat. We're able to see where it all lies by region to the gram at hospital grade. So we know this is the most accurate way of measuring the body composition. This is the industry standard now, okay? But basically, being 30% and understanding that you're 30% at 30 years old isn't a good marker for what you're going to be when you're 40. Because if you don't change your way of doing things, if you don't understand that this is all self-inflicted, nobody else has done this for you. Nobody has made you make those choices. So the first tip is to always get real. You've got to take a good long look at yourself. And when you get your scan, you look at your stats and you say, okay, I can continue to sweep this shit under the carpet, or I can start to do something about it. And now the second tip is change one thing. If you're feeling that, you know, you've done this before, you've done diets, you've done this, you've worked out, you've lost steam and you've lost motivation, the second tip is to change one thing. One small victory is what we need. Now, your time frame on that, and if your meter is running with a trainer, you don't want to mess around, because it's going to be an expensive exercise and just putting things off. Because if you're paying somebody to do something, like you would a business consultant, if there's something wrong with your business, or you're venturing out into a new area and you're not sure how to do it, but you need some expert guidance, you ask a consultant to come in and they show you, they guide the way. But if you're not ready for them and they come to guide the way, and you haven't got the willingness and the manpower and the right mental state of mind, then really you're not going to get it. So changing one thing, I said to this guy, come on, tell me right off the bat, what's the one thing you do too much of? Fried chicken. Okay, so he knows that. Good. I didn't have to do that for you. I'm not there to help you to discover what it is. You already know these things. As a cognitive and clever person, savvy person, you're going to know those things too, right? So get real, change one thing. Chicken, right? So how do we solve the chicken thing? How many times a day or a week are you having it? 5 times a week. All right, now, how dependent are you on that, and how much do you want to achieve your goals? It's always back over to you. The mirror comes up and they have to answer that question. Mine is only asking, so I can be an interrogator. I interrogate. I don't persecute. I just ask. Put it back onto them and let things occur to them. So they realize now, well, we've got an issue, we've identified it, and we know that it's realistically, I can't get past eating this fried chicken all day long. Sometimes it's chocolate, sometimes it's cheese and wine and this, that, and the other. Now, they have to be willing to make a sacrifice for that. So their sacrifice has to be something that will have a meaning. Otherwise, there's no discipline that can be achieved if you don't make a sacrifice. That's very important. No discipline without sacrifice, giving up time, giving up something, making a difference, so they can then trade off what they're going to change that gap in their diet for. So 4 times a week chicken and 1 time a week salads. Okay, that's a start if that's where you want to do it. Now your training physically will begin at a similar level, because it gives me a great indicator as to how much you're ready to sacrifice. Now, if they said they're going to give up fried chicken altogether, well, that's an admirable thing. But remember, we're looking for small victories. One small victory a day to begin with, if you've struggled. And you have to do this one thing. You have to soothe yourself and say, good work. That was a good thing you did there. Take a second just to say, you don't have to keep on doing it like you're some kind of deranged freak, but you say, good job. You overstepped that landmine. You identified where it was, and instead of standing on it and detonating and clearing up the mess afterwards, you walked over it. So basically, what are we trying to do? I have people on the phone. What are we trying to do? Silent. Is understand that people are built that way. They can't just drop everything and have a void. Something has to take over that. So, number 1, get real. Number 2, we have to find out what it is you're going to make a change in. Change one thing, okay? So number 3, very simply, is change 2 things. Okay, so once you've got used to that and your body says, okay, I've done this for a week, I understand what it is, I have been able to cope, I don't need all of this food, I don't need all that. So the second thing you might change is how much you are exercising and the kind of exercise you're going to do on your own. So for example, you might say, do I have a skipping rope? Is it a question of time for me? Can I make a commitment to do 10 minutes, 5 minutes on the skipping rope, to do 10 push-ups? So I've got my 1 drop food and my second thing, which is my 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to commit to doing this 1 victory at a time. Small victories bounce back and forth, and they come up like this. 1 tiny thing at a time. So the third thing in changing the second thing, it can be another thing that you change in your habits. It could be something to do with smoking. It could be something to do with drinking, whatever it is, introducing more water. Okay, something like that. So you can assure yourself, I'm on the right path. I've woken myself up. I know what I'm doing. And so far, I'm now starting to make small changes. Okay, and these are the changes that will stick as your momentum gathers. So remember all these analogies of a waterfall starting with a single drop. Very true. A journey of 1,000,000 miles starting with the first step. Very true. Okay, at the end of the day, these are the things that we're looking for. A waterfall of one drop is better than no drops. Okay, so if you hadn't guessed already, the fourth tip, change a third thing. Okay, so all we're going to change this time. So let's say, for example, I've dropped one of the fried chicken. I've made a decision to go and skip once a day for 5 minutes. Okay, now I might make another choice to say, well, this one is going to have to be something that maybe I change a second meal, or I add in 10 push-ups, or I scale down on the cigarettes, or I make something that's going to be able to be long-lasting, which I can substitute with something else. So I might change cigarettes for an apple. So I'm swapping out stuff. So I can say, well, you know what, realistically, I can fool myself or delude myself as much as I need to. But realistically, all this guidance and things, pinning people into these rigid programs isn't going to work. I hate rigid programs. They don't work. You can tell the people who have periodized programs for their clients, they're the ones sitting in the cafe doing nothing because they're unrealistic. We have to find a way of making it work for you. And that has to be as fluid as water. That has to be something that you will do, that you feel you've been part of. And your trainer is a basis for reflection, because like going to confession is good for the soul. You say, well, look, this trainer is helping me. Now, in the meantime, when they put together workouts for me and stuff like that, sure. But also, I want you to learn, not read while I'm telling you. So you've got to get hands on. Get into that lump of clay and change it into something. You can't do it just looking at it. If someone gives you papers, they'll sit there. There'll just be papers on the desk. Or someone shows you how to make something, how to do something, one exercise at a time if necessary, then that will be it. So again, we're going to get onto the fifth tip, which is quite simply, go back and change again. Change again. That's all it is. I'm not going to give you specific goals, because you are the one who has to make those choices. If you say, well, I don't know, bullshit. You do know. You're not stupid. If you can go to work every day, put together Excel spreadsheets, or play on a PlayStation, or go for walks, or go on holidays, have a relationship, you know what's wrong. Okay? That's the problem. Now, coming to terms with that, dropping the shit, is where you start to see where the changes are. And you can do one thing. It's be reassured that once you start making those changes on that basis, auto suggestion and saying, yeah, you know, realistically, that's fair enough. It's time to drop that from the act now. You know, it's had its day in the sun, and now it's just becoming something that hangs me up. That's when you start to see changes. You become realistic. This is what happens as an evolving process. Everything has to evolve organically and at your pace. Now, you can ask someone to put you on a conveyor belt that whisks you through an 8-week program, and at the end of it, you're just so dizzy or tired, you don't really see what's happening. If it takes 6 months, it takes 6 months. I often tell weight loss clients, I'm going to save you thousands and thousands of dollars. If you're 80 kilos now and you want to be 70, come back when you've lost 5 kilos. That, for me, as a client, as a trainer, gives me a sign that you're ready to train. Not that you're here wanting to hang your hat on me being responsible for that, because you already know. Everybody knows you can't go and get pissed every night. Everybody knows you can't dine out on rich foods every night. Everybody knows you can't eat cake and chocolate for the rest of your life. People know that. After you've done it for a while, you might become interested in discovering what these things are made of, how you can prevent it. But everything has to occur to you one step at a time. An organic, more holistic way of considering, I wonder if I just had these vegetables and meat tonight instead of pizza and a beer, what the impact of that would be. You already know. That's the big deal here. You know better than me what's right for you. I know what's right in general, but hey, force feeding you that is not the solution. It has never been, and it never will be. So quite simply, 5 tips. The first one is get real. Then start changing shit one thing at a time. Give yourself time for that to be comfortable. Like new shoes, you've got to wear them in. It feels good. I'm ready to make another change. Might be within days. You could do 2 in one day. Start clearing out the cupboards. Eat the food that you've got there. Don't waste it. Be realistic then. Start replenishing the cupboard slowly. Keep it half empty. Don't put too much in there. Buy your food on the day. Be realistic. Drink the water. Think about stuff. Eat periodically. Know how much protein your body needs. Know how much carbohydrate you need. And know that every time you make a choice and score a small victory like that, it's a huge plus for the body. And if you were to think of it as a separate being, you'd be able to go, you could hear it just going, a sigh of relief. Oh, thank fuck for that, you know? I was heading towards high blood pressure. I was heading towards hypertension, diabetes type 2, all that kind of stuff. So everything you do that's kind to the body, and you realize, you say, it's okay. You've done a good thing there. Encourage yourself. Treat yourself like you have you and yourself. And that person in there is worthwhile, is worthy of this nice treatment, of being kind to it. Not somebody else telling you what to do. And then you bounce off your trainer. You can go back to them periodically. Update, say, look, I need a little bit more of a push here. This is where I've gone wrong. And then rescan, get your DEXA scan. So the guy who's 30 kilos, I know he's a busy man and he smokes. The chances I've got to get him to give up smoking are nominal. So I can say, well, I can't take you on, or I can say, we can work around that. I don't have to be happy or approve that he smokes. I can say, well, this is the next best thing that you could do. But your choice and your choice alone will be the one that says that, okay, I've had enough of that smoking shit. And that's when it will happen. So if he's moving in the right direction, that single drop starts to move into a waterfall. And before we know it, we've got a steady flow of water happening. And fundamentally, that's all I can do. Now, if somebody wants to get to be an Olympian, they have to have that in there already. That's not something I can put in there. That's something they want to aspire to. They might say, well, I saw how easy that was because it was broken down. Now, taking another few steps and keeping that pattern happening isn't so much of a departure from what I've already achieved. So your weight loss, realistic. And if you struggle, stop, reassess, get real again, and then start with another change, consistent change. In your mind, you can cross them off or put a little thing on the fridge every day where you've done something. Don't lie to yourself. Be honest. Don't matter if you fuck up. You just get on with it. Make up for it. Change it. It's never too late to stop and change stuff, ever. You are one breath away from making that decision to change it. So that's up to you. And it won't happen. You won't see the traction until you're ready to do that. So weight loss, piece of cake, man. You can get it back in shape. You can change your life. You might have to sacrifice stuff. You might have to work less. You might have to give up some of the stuff that you like, but that might be also a source of many of your problems. So you have to weigh that up. But you're the one that will make that choice, nobody else. Okay, all right. So let's have a look. I can put on some questions here. I don't know if there's anybody watching. As usual, there's nobody. Oh, a question. Psych. No, there's no questions. That's all right. Okay, so I think you get the gist of what I'm saying. Buddy? Yeah? Yes. Okay, understand. It's up to you. Get real. Make a change. Score a victory. Feel good about it. That's all. Wonderful. Got it? And if you need help, I'm Pat at ilovept.com. Send me an email, put a comment, do something. We can talk online. I can chat with you live, or you can email me. If you're in Australia, and heaven forbid, if you're in Sydney, come to a session. Everyone gets a free session. So it's all good. I look forward to hearing from you. And in the meantime, we'll try and get a few more videos up so you can enjoy some of these topics. Some of the other stuff might help as well. Okay, buddy. So let's find out what's happening in your world and get in touch with me, okay? Thank you for being here today. I honestly, genuinely appreciate everything, although none of you are watching. Okay, kids, I love you. Bye-bye.